Have you ever felt like you're playing whack-a-mole with a Spanish verb? You learn one meaning for hacer, and then bam, another one just pops right up. Well, in this explainer, we are going to completely demystify this so-called everything verb and turn it into your new favorite multi-tool.
Okay, let's just get real about hacer for a second. For so many people learning Spanish, this is the one verb that seems to be absolutely everywhere, doing, well, everything. Honestly, it's the kind of verb that might make you want to just toss your textbook out the window. But what if I told you there's a simple way to crack the code?
Does that sound familiar? Yeah, this is a real comment from a language learner online, and it just perfectly captures that feeling, right? Of chasing a word that just refuses to stand still. But here's the thing. You are so not alone in this, and the solution, believe it or not, is way simpler than you think.
So that brings up a really important question. Is there an English equivalent to this? And asking that question is the key to unlocking this whole puzzle. Instead of seeing hacer as this, frustrating glitch in the language, we're going to start seeing it as an incredibly powerful feature. I want you to think about the English verb get. Just think about it. We get coffee, we get sick, we get the joke, we get home. I mean, it is a complete nightmare for anyone trying to learn English. Hacer is basically the Spanish version of that. So you see, it's not a bug, it's a multi-tool. And today, we're going to learn exactly how to use it. All right, the key to truly mastering hacer is to build a super solid foundation. And that whole foundation rests on two simple core meanings: to do and to make. Let's break that down right now. Look, you do not need to memorize all 50+ forms of hacer to have a totally normal conversation. It's just not necessary. In fact, if you look at how people actually speak Spanish, a massive chunk of daily communication relies on just a handful of them. So we're going to focus on those high-impact forms so you can start using hacer with confidence, like right away. So here they are. These are the heavy hitters. These are the forms you're going to hear and use all the time. Now you'll notice the irregular I form in the present, hago, and that little stem change in the past, ise, iso. These are the little quirks that once you get them down are going to make you sound so much more natural. So first up, to do. Think of this as just performing an action. Hago yoga. I do yoga. Haces la tarea. You do your homework. See? Pretty simple, right? And now for the magic trick. The exact same verb forms, hago, hace, can also mean to make, as in you're creating something. Hago café, ella hace una lista. It really all just comes down to context. Okay, so now that you've got that do and make foundation, we can start to build on it. Let's tackle two areas where hacer really shines, but also where, let's be honest, learners often get a little tripped up, talking about the weather and the passage of time. Now, this next idea is a total game changer. In Spanish, the weather isn't just a thing that is. No, it's something that nature is actively doing. It's not just cold. Nature is literally making it cold. The sun isn't just out. Nature is doing sun. And once you really get that concept, this whole world of weather expressions just opens right up. Hace calor, hace frío, hace sol. It's a simple, predictable pattern that you can use over and over and over again. Ready for another hacer hack? We can use that exact same pattern-based thinking to talk about time. And just like with the weather, there's a really simple, repeatable formula that's going to make you sound like a pro. So here it is, the recipe for talking about the past. You start with hace, then the amount of time, then que, then the action. Hace 5 minutos que llegó. He arrived 5 minutes ago. You can use this for literally anything. Hace 2 horas que comí. I ate 2 hours ago. Hace un año que visité a mi abuela. I visited my grandmother a year ago. It just works. All right, now for the really fun stuff. Let's see how hacer acts like a verbal shortcut in tons of common, everyday expressions. This is where you really start to sound like a native speaker. This is a huge unlock. See, in Spanish, you don't take a trip, you make a trip. Hacer un viaje. You don't ask a question, you make a question. Hacer una pregunta. Learning these phrases as complete chunks, not as individual words, is the secret to sounding much more natural. So, let's bring this all back home. We started out with that feeling of frustration, right? Of being totally overwhelmed by this one little verb. But has your perspective changed at all? I want you to think back to how you felt at the very beginning of this explainer. Does Hacer still seem like this impossible, random verb with a million different meanings? Or are you maybe starting to see the logic behind the madness?
By understanding that core logic of do and make, and by learning its common patterns for weather, time, and daily phrases, you've basically transformed hacer from a source of frustration into one of your most powerful tools for communication. You have tamed the beast. You know, learning hacer isn't just about memorizing a conjugation chart. It's about learning to think differently, to think about how actions and descriptions actually work in Spanish. It's really about unlocking a whole new way of seeing the language itself.
So, what's next? The truth is, every language has these everything verbs. And once you've mastered hacer, you've basically got the key to unlocking all of them. So, the real question is, what will you learn next?